Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so that each time I upload you get notified. In today's video, we'll be talking about how to get a host in the US after winning the TV lottery. Getting a host in the US is one of the requirements needed after winning the TV lottery. Now, a lot of people are worried about getting a host, how to get a host in the US. Some people are confused when it comes to host and a sponsor. There's a difference between host and a sponsor. A sponsor is someone who finances all your expenses, like paying for your interview fee, paying for your medicals, or anything that you need to spend after winning the TV lottery. Your sponsor will be the one to. Your passport is like your ID card, so you need your passport after winning the DV lottery. You need to do medicals, all the things you have to spend on. You need a sponsor. You can do them yourself. If you cannot do them yourself, then you need someone else to sponsor that. You might need your parents, your family members, your friends. You can borrow from a financial institution. You can as well borrow from your host, someone who is going to host you. The person might lend you the money to finance all your expenses. Now when you get to the US, you work the money and return it to the person. When it comes to a host is someone who is already living in the US, someone who will house you when you get to the US, because you're going to the US for the first time. You don't know the culture and stuff like that, so you need your host to house you, to feed you. If you don't have a host, you can look for a host online. Your host can be your friend who is already living in the US. Your host can be your family member who is there. Your host can be your parents. Your host can be a total stranger who volunteers to house you when you get to the US. How can you get a host when you don't have anyone in the US? Now I'd like to share with you how you can get a host when you don't have any relative in the US. Thanks to social media, people can look for hosts on social media, especially on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. You can get a host on these social media platforms. How can you get a host on the social media platforms? First of all, you need to join groups, your community groups, people from your community who are already living in the US. You can search Facebook groups of those people from your community or from your country who are already in the US. You can plead with them, explain your situation to them. If they accept to host you, then they'll have to give you their names and their address, because when filling the DS260 form, you are going to provide your host's name and address. At the interview, you also have to give your host's name and address. It is very important to have a host in the US. Now, what is DS260 form? DS260 form is a form you fill online after winning the DV lottery. That is, after you've been selected for the diversity visa, you have to fill the DS260 form. So in that form, you have to provide detailed information about yourself, and you have to provide your host's address and name as well. Why do they ask, or why do they require a host before moving to the US? You need someone to show you around. You need someone who will house you for the meantime, especially if you don't have enough money with you. You need someone who will keep you. Getting an accommodation in the US is very expensive, and with your local currency, it's not going to be enough for you to get the accommodation in the US. That's why it's good to get someone who is already there, who will house you for some time before you fit in the society, you get a job, and you move out, you start staying on your own. That's why it's important to get a host. They don't want you to go and remain stranded in the US. They don't want you to go and be like a nuisance. So you need someone who will house you for the meantime. If you search on social media and you cannot find a host, make sure you get enough money for yourself. Rent an apartment, or you can rent a hotel online while you're still in your country, so that when you get to the US, you go directly to your rented apartment or to your rented hotel. It is very important to have a host. I doubt if there's anyone who will not get a host when you win the DV lottery. You must always get a host. If your friend cannot host you, your family members can host you, or you reach out on social media. Even total strangers can host you, but you have to be careful when reaching out to people on social media, especially people you don't know, so that you shouldn't fall in the hand of scammers. So go to groups, go to US immigration groups, ask for a host, tell them you need a host, you're going to get a host. A lot of people have done it this way and they got a host through Facebook groups, so you too can get a host through Facebook. Host shouldn't be something you'll be worried about. Some people complain that their hosts change their mind, they lose their interest of hosting them after they've agreed to host them. Now, if your host refuse to send you the address, or if your host is no longer interested in hosting you, just quickly go to social media groups, try to reach out to those who are there in the US who can help you, especially people from your community. Reach out to them and they'll be able to help you. You can go to Instagram, you can go to Facebook. These are the platforms that can easily help you get a host in the US. There's a little advice I need to give here. Before going to the US, please make sure you hold some cash with you. Make sure you have some pocket allowance with you, so that when you get to the US, you shouldn't be totally dependent on your host. You shouldn't be a burden to your host. At least there are some little things like your cream. When you get there initially, you should be able to get your creams, or some little things that you need for yourself. You shouldn't totally depend on your host, because you'll be like a burden to them and they might not like it. So you have to go with little money that you can help yourself while you're there, while they are housing you, feeding you. You can also support yourself in your own little way. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you find this video helpful. Also like this video and share with others, because it might be of help to someone out there. I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.